All right, so first topic. I do want to mention a movie that I saw last week and just give my chance now to review, and that would be Fast X. So this is the 10th Fast and Furious movie from Universal Studios. And if you've seen enough of these movies, I think you know what to expect. You know, big action set pieces, crazy car chase sequences, street racing, fist fighting, street fighting, big bombastic explosions, and of course, family, the whole thing with family, with Vin Diesel, Dom Toretto, family, and all that stuff. But I think it's more than that. It's also kind of like a revenge movie as well, especially for Jason Momoa's new character. He plays Dante Reyes. He's the son of Hernan Reyes, the antagonist that we saw in Fast Five, which that movie in particular to me is the best in the whole franchise. So why is he after Dominic Toretto and his gang? Well, basically because of them killing his father and also the loss of his family's fortune. So I mean, just the fact that took all this time just to get to this point. I mean, I just feel like the existence of Dante is really just more cash cowing the whole franchise. It's so obvious, but anyway, his attempts in this movie, what I was really impressed with his acting. He seemed to have a lot of fun, really maniacal. There was a tint of sarcasm as well. To me, Jason Momoa seemed like he had more fun as Dante Reyes more than he did as Aquaman. That's just my observation. So I thought he had a great performance and really the standout actor for the movie itself. But yeah, like I said, it's nothing that you're going to be surprised about or shocked, but again, it does carry the plot forward. Most of the characters that we've seen over the past 4 or 5 movies, they do make a return one way or another. Of course they are. And these actors are major stars, whether they used to be antagonists and now they have to be like secondary antagonists. So it's just, to me, it's trying to be like Infinity War with, big major villain like Dante Reyes, tearing everything apart, you know what I mean? Going after everyone. And so I thought like his performance was Joker-esque, you know what I mean? So that's what I thought, like an Infinity War style movie of like an antagonist like him achieving his goals of like taking down Dominic Toretto and his gang and his family, if you want to call it. So that's what I thought. And I like that there was more of his son, Little B, really being like, again, still like a kid. Not that he had like anything major, but I mean, like, now there's more of him in a way, despite him being in danger, obviously. I mean, it's not exactly a shocker. We saw it in the trailer. But also the introduction of a couple of characters. One of them is Tess, supposedly Mr. Nobody's daughter. She's just there as an ally for Dom Toretto. But I mean, I didn't think her presence was really important, except for maybe a few moments, but that was it. And also, I forgot her name, but also played by Daniela Melchior. Most people might remember her from Ratcatcher, from this Suicide Squad, the one directed by James Gunn, and she makes an appearance here as Little B's aunt and also the sister of Elena, the one who was killed by Cypher in The Fate of the Furious. So just for Dom and Elena to kind of interact here was important, and you get to really see how no matter what Toretto, no matter what the gang tries to do, I mean, he's always like 10, 15 steps ahead of them. And it's almost like he planned this for years. So of course, like he studied them and all that sort of stuff. And what happened in the opening sequence and first act in Rome with the metal bomb, I mean, that was insane. That was really an insane action sequence. And how like, it's almost like for Dom, like his car is like a supercar, using his car to hit like a crane just so that the bomb goes to the water and try to minimize the casualties and the impact. It's still kind of crazy, but I'm really glad, like, as well, when it comes to the majority of the characters in this movie, the chemistry is still there. I thought I would get tired of Roman Pierce and Tej in the movie, Ludacris and Tyrese Gibson, the actors. And it's still kind of fun to watch. They're still funny, and I love that scene, especially when there was Pete Davidson somewhere in the second act where both of them were just fighting like fisticuffs. just because they were tired of one another and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I mean that was just kind of it. But I mean, of course, like when it comes to the action sequences at this point, like I don't think anything is a shocker, but I know it's just hard to find something to do and to come up with. But I mean, I want to talk about the third act, because really the third act, when it came to Dom trying to save his son from Dante, and there was that Ames guy played by Alan Ritchson, and of course Dom's brother Jacob makes a return, played by John Cena. You know, that whole chase sequence, especially with those two trucks, was about to crush Dom and Little B. I mean, I'm just sitting there, my heart was like pumping, because like I'm like, oh my gosh, what's happening? What's going to happen? What might happen? And like, you know, those sort of like highway chase sequences, like it sort of reminded me of one of them in Fast 6, and also maybe one of the other ones, where like somehow, some way, like, you know, jumping from one car to the other. And that's kind of what happened with Little B miraculously. You know, Dom saving his son. So I mean, like, of course, like, no one can really do that, but like, you know, they're defying the laws of physics. Let's just be honest. These movies are just defying the laws of physics, but they're just fun entertainment. They're sort of a good story. I'm not going to call it one of the best. Somewhere like, you know, with 10, 11 movies now, if you want to count the Hobbs and Shaw spinoff, which, let's be honest, was totally unnecessary. Like, somewhere in the middle, Fast X. And we know that this franchise is coming to an end soon, because the story established here will continue for maybe another one, or maybe like 2 or 3 parts. So it's ongoing. So of course, like, Dante is more crazier than we thought. And if it does end in a cliffhanger, and what happens with everyone, I mean, it's still a major unknown. I want to talk about a couple of returning characters. I don't want to spoil it. One of them, who we thought was dead, because again, I'm kind of getting fed up of like these movies telling us or showing us like a couple of characters. We saw one in Fast 9 and now in this one, and we all assumed that they were dead, and somehow, some way, you know, they're actually alive. And you know, this is supposed to be an action movie, like with real life consequences. It's not comic books. It's not sci-fi. It's not whatever. It's not anything else. It's not wizarding. You know, it's not like fantasy. It's not sci-fi. It's not anything else. It's not like something from past ages or the medieval, whatever. Like any kind of genre that you could sort of think of. It is an action blockbuster at this point, but like, it's almost like the death of a couple of these characters that we've seen now in these recent 2 movies. It's like, okay, why lead us to believe it? It's almost like there's no consequences to the death of these characters anymore. You know, it's almost like the impact of them is minimal. I was surprised also about another actor making a return after a very public off-screen feud with Vin Diesel. I mean, it's nice to see him again, but I mean, like, I didn't really expect him to come back after all that was said about him being a candy ass. I think you all know who I'm referring to, so that was just kind of a surprise to me. But yeah, I mean, like, look, if you want a fun action movie, if you're still a fan, if you still can like accept it and handle what it is at this point, especially like street racing, gunfights, car chasing, somewhere with a big explosion, and of course, like somewhere all about family. Man, what else is missing in the formula? And like, you know, Vin Diesel's deep voice. I mean, anything else that I'm probably missing? I know I nailed the most, especially with the scene with street racing and, you know, people dancing in the streets and booty shaking and all that stuff. Yeah, I mean, it's mostly the same formula, but the movie is just really, it's much intense. And like, I mean, I have to give a lot of credit to Jason Momoa for making his on-screen presence felt here, and just, like I said earlier, being very maniacal and in a lot of ways sarcastic. So this is still a pretty decent film, but there have been better Fast and Furious movies in the past. I would say like a 7 out of 10. I think that's generous. Like, to me, it's more of a 7 out of 10 movie. So yeah, if it's still in your local movie theaters, or if it's already on by now video on demand, go watch it. Maybe you might like it. Maybe you'll be impressed with Momoa's performance, because like I said earlier, to me, I thought he had more fun in this movie than he did so as Aquaman. So pretty decent performances by the cast, and still a pretty good movie by itself as well.